It's good to see you all. Do we have anyone, a staff team, anyone left in the waiting room?
No, you're good to go.
We're good to go. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. It's lovely to see everybody online. Thank you for all taking the time out of your busy days to be able to come to the additional plenary meeting online. So thank you very much. I hope that you've all got your papers. It's good to see you. I know that in the President's statements, I will be doing condolences, but at the outset, I just hope that we can all give our deepest heartfelt condolences to Michael Ziff on the passing of his dearest mother. This was something that was very, very tough for him. Housekeeping, as always. Can I remind deputies that you are all responsible, please, for your own conduct. Please be careful what you say. When you speak, could you also please make sure that you give your name and your constituency? This also helps greatly with the minutes. So thank you. I'm going to start with a welcome that's going to be given by Edwin Shuker for Zaki Cooper in relation to the big help out. So could I please hand over to Edwin and he will introduce Zaki. Thank you.
Thank you. Edwin Shuker with Side Park United. I have a pleasure to present Zaki Cooper, first as a dear friend, and secondly as a co-founder of Integra Communications business. He has previously worked at the royal household, he worked for the Chief Rabbi Lord Sachs and the corporate sector. He's an interfaith activist, including co-chair of the British Indian Jewish Association. Zaki and his company Integra have been working on the faith engagement and communications of the Big Help Out, one of the projects of the coronation weekend. Myself, as a treasurer of the Mitzvah Day, I also would love to put a plug for our charity that works so hard within the Jewish world to actually activate, and we are absolutely delighted to join Zaki in his big help out. Zaki.
Edwin, thank you very much, and good evening, everyone. Lovely to be with you, and thank you for having me. It's great to be amongst so many friends and people I know and I respect as well. I am joined by Pete Gaffney, who is from the Big Help Out. So hopefully, I can't see him, but I think Pete will be on the call. Here he is. And I'll make some opening remarks, and then Pete will also speak. And I know our time is limited. So just to jump straight in, I mean, so the big help out is around the coronation weekend, and just to kind of map that out for everyone, give me ready. But we have, as you know, 3-day coronation weekend with the main event at Westminster Abbey on the Saturday, the 6th of May. And then on Sunday, the 7th of May, the Palace have announced the big project there is the big coronation lunch, which will ring a bell for many people because we've had big Jubilee lunches for Jubilees in recent years. And that's the attempt. That's the push to hold street parties and gatherings all over the country. And then on the Monday, they've announced the Big Help Out, which is put together by the Together Coalition, which was set up by the Archbishop of Canterbury and Brendan Cox several years ago. And what they're trying to do here is really promote and volunteering, promote, highlight and showcase volunteering. And this has been something that people have been working on for the last several months, and together have put together an incredible coalition of leading charities, Scouts, Girl Guides, the Royal Volunteer Society, and many others. And you can have a look on their website. And they are working on this initiative to try and get all different sort of segments and sectors of the country involved. And the aim is to try and get as many people volunteering or pledging to volunteer, using that day as a springboard for future activity. You know, it's not all going to be solved in one day, but the idea is to use that day as a springboard for the future. And look, obviously, as a community, we have such strength in volunteering. I mean, Edwin, you mentioned Mitzvah Day. Obviously, we've got GIFT, we've got the Jewish Volunteering Network. It's a huge strength of our community and all faith communities. That you'll know again that the research tells us that people in faith communities volunteer at a higher rate than the national average. So, and the other thing, just quickly to say, is the King, has a particular passion and interest both in promoting volunteering, where he has spearheaded various initiatives in recent years, but also in bringing different faith groups together, which is where we fit in, because we and my company have been working particularly around the faith engagement and communications of the Big Help Out. The organisers have been really, really keen that faith communities, all the faith communities, sort of know about it and are included. And if they are sort of minded to do things, organise activities around it. So yeah, we've been busy for the last 2 months working on this. Some of you may have seen we organised with the help of Mitzvah Day an event last week at a homelessness charity in central London with the Archbishop of Canterbury, the Chief Rabbi, and various other faith leaders, which we got quite a lot of media coverage for. It was on the news last Wednesday night, all the bulletins on the news. And the idea behind it was really to highlight the opportunity for faith communities to get involved. And we've been trying to get faith leaders and activists to urge their communities to get involved. And there'll be more activity that we're sort of initiating over the coming, the final push over the coming 10 days or so. So I think at this stage, Pete, why don't I hand over to you, and then perhaps I'll round off at the end.
Yeah, thank you very much, Zaki, and thank you everyone for having us. I'm just going to talk very quickly through what ask essentially we have and what invitation we'd like to extend from the Big Help Out. So my name is Pete. I'm a campaigns manager with the Together Coalition, as Zaki said, and I've been working with Zaki on the faith and religion side of this campaign. So really, the big ask we have is for everyone to please go and visit the Big Help Out website, www.thebighelpout.org.uk, hopefully nice and easy to remember. And there you can learn all about how exactly you can get involved. The core of the campaign is in the form of an app. It is an app that has a massive database of volunteering opportunities in it across the UK that people can be engaged with. I happen to know definitely that the Jewish Volunteering Network is already listed in that app. And any organization that has a volunteering opportunity a member public can engage with is welcome to submit their opportunities for people to go find and sign up. I understand sometimes Jewish organizations might be a bit reluctant to have too much of an open invitation, but that's okay. We are able to accommodate a screening process, or we're able to push an opportunity out to various different localities. Even if you have one central point of contact first, that's not a problem. You're welcome to get in touch with us for more information about how you might do that if that's a concern. But we would love for you to share any of those opportunities you have. And then second, we would really, really like for you to spread the word about the campaign within your communities over the next kind of 10 days. If your shul has a newsletter, or if your organization sends out regular comms, if you have a good social media presence, anything like that, it would be fantastic for you to be talking about the Big Help Out. And although the crux of the campaign is the May 8th bank holiday, if you have other things that are happening in the run-up to or just after, you are also welcome to include those in the campaign. You're welcome to tag them with our hashtag Big Help Out tag, and you're welcome to upload them to the app as well. And those are two hopefully nice and straightforward asks we have. Thank you, Zaki.
Thank you, Pete. And just to say, already we've had some amazing responses from all the faith communities doing things like food banks and serving of food, cleanups and litter picks. We've got a beach clean in Wales. We've got free car washes, free health screenings being organised, clothing donations. So all sorts of fabulous activities that all different faith groups are undertaking, and be great. The Jewish community is already involved through Mitzvah Day and JVN. But absolutely, if you have, the ability to get involved and organise things, that would be fabulous as well. And I think that's it. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Back to the president. You're muted. Yeah, muted.
Thank you. And also a reminder that the King has been very, very gracious to our community. In 2019, I had the honour with Simon Sebag Montefiore organising a fantastic event at Buckingham Palace. And he wanted volunteers right from then. He's made it clear that people that are humble really have got something to offer. That's what he wants to hear. And I am very honoured to be invited to the coronation, and some of us from the board are invited also to the concert. So this is a huge honour for the Board of Deputies and our community. And since the last meeting, we also, as a privileged body, went to Buckingham Palace to give our loyal address. That was such a moving experience, but we're very proud of everything we're doing. So big help out. Everybody help out. Really looking forward to hearing all of the stories. Perhaps you can give us some feedback, Zaki and Pete, on some of the really good things that have happened, and maybe we can get some lessons from them and keep carrying on. The big help out would be really good. Thank you. You're very welcome to stay for the meeting. Okay, moving on, just some other housekeeping. Sorry, I can see my head's gone a bit high. Last meeting, we did approve the minutes. So there aren't any minutes to approve for this meeting. And minutes of March and April meetings are going to be circulated, I'm told, in May. It's also a good idea, I think, to vary the order in which people speak. So I propose for the vice presidents to be able to give their reports first. There will obviously be some potential overlap, and if they want to ask me to respond to anything in particular, I of course will do so. So the plan is that each HO will have 15 minutes to present their report and take questions. It's probably easier if I can see who's asking the questions, and then I can ask those people to speak. And I will try and ask people who don't usually speak, or people to come forward that are not habitual speakers. And if you've spoken once, you won't necessarily be asked again. So let's try and have a wide variety of speakers. So the first person, Edwin, could you please give your report?
Yes, of course. So the report is presented already. I'm happy to answer questions at the end. I wanted to mention a few things, and then I'll ask three of my colleagues to say a couple of minutes each to make their contribution recognizable. So we are we lost recently Lauren Kailis, and we will miss her terribly. She's been with us 5 years and been one of our really pillars in the division. We are recruiting and asking deputies for if anyone know of someone who would fit into what we want. We would be delighted to hear from them and from you. So this is an ask from you guys. The other thing is regarding the commission. We have sped up the operation, and we are going to produce in a couple of weeks a survey to every single deputy. We would like you not to have an option whether to respond or not, but we actually please try and get us up to 90% of responses about how to move on. We wanted you to check with your synagogues about what we have done already with the commission's implementation and what we intend to do, and how your organization or synagogue is contributing. This will be coming out in 2 weeks' time. We will be also hearing from Sheila later regarding the Jewish Living Experience exhibition, which is playing right now in Hull. And I understand Sheila was driving madly from Hull today, literally to just hopefully making it in time for her report. She looks absolutely smashing in here in the picture, so I presume she arrived safely. I will then also would like to make a plug for an event that Social Justice Committee are holding on Refugee Week on the 17th of May at 1 p.m. marking the Refugee Week. We will have a conversation between Enver Solomon and our own Michael Uyghur. Enver is the whole thing will be presented also by Amos Schoenfield, of course. Enver is the executive director of the Refugee Council. Please support the event and be there 17th of May at 1 p.m. I now want to call on Vice Chair Andrew Gilbert, who's taken a lot of my workload on the divisions, and ask him to say something, make a short presentation just to show you the level of work that he has been doing in the division. Andrew Gilbert, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thanks very much. I think Leo's got some slides to share. If you can put those large on the screen, Leo. So it's just that they can hear my voice, but so they take up the screen, and I'm just going to go to the next one. So we're having presentations last month at our meeting on London, Essex and Herts, and the next meeting will look at the rest of the Jewish community in other regions, and we'll bring back stats on that. Next slide. We'll go into more detail, but over the last 20 years, the number of Jews in London has really stayed fairly static, around just under 150,000. Next slide. As you can see from this slide, whilst Barnet's the largest borough, over 20 years ago, Hackney was fifth. Today, it's the second largest. And you'll also see Haringey growing on this list, and you'll also see other barriers, and particularly in East London, like Redbridge, all falling back. But next slide, and we'll see this in more detail. The number of Jews in South London has stayed virtually the same over the last 20 years. But what's happened in that period, which is, I think, of interest to communities, is in inner London, the numbers have increased, but all the outer London boroughs, you will see a decrease. We'll send these slides round to deputies afterwards, and they'll also be part of the briefing as well. Next slide. In West and Northwest London, in all the 5 boroughs, Harrow, Brent, Hillingdon, Ealing and Hounslow, you'll see that in all those boroughs, the Jewish community has gone down, partly through a move to Hertfordshire maybe, but you'll see the trajectory in all that area where the Jewish community has declined by over a third in those boroughs. Next slide. In East London, the same. When you see the same going on in particularly in boroughs like Redbridge, but in some of the other boroughs, it's much more static in population. But Redbridge has been the largest decline there. But note that figure. There's still 6,000 Jews in over 6,000 Jews in Redbridge, but it's not the nearly 17,000 there were 20 years ago. Next slide. At Stamford Hill, the Haredi community, and here we see both in Hackney and Haringey and Islington, the numbers increasing, and that change that's going on there is something we know very much in Hackney, but the community is growing very significantly in Haringey over that period. We're also seeing the growth in Islington. We're not clear whether this is, and we'll have to do more investigation, whether this is a growing Haredi community there or actually just young people moving into the borough. Next slide. In Hertfordshire, Hertfordshire is now the third largest community outside of London and Manchester. It's at 26,000 overall. Whereas Manchester, I think, was 28,000. So you're seeing here the continued growth. And if you look at the borough of Hertsmere, which is the large column there, but even in areas like St Albans, the Rabbi of St Albans Masorti, we met this week, and he was talking about that 600 more Jews in St Albans that he'll be reaching out to. So there is a serious growth that's going on there. And at the same time, areas like Three Rivers, Rickmansworth Moor Park, there's actually a fall there. So it's not consistent, but you see a growth of the Jewish community across those areas, but it's very much Hertfordshire and Hertsmere. And the last slide there. And the last slide is Essex. And remember that 6,000 Jews that are still in Redbridge, but there are 10,000 Jews in the rest of Essex. So this is still a huge population. That's more Jews than there's 9,000 in your whole of Yorkshire. There's 10,000 Jews in Essex, and then 6,000 Jews in Redbridge. Epping Forest just over the border with Chigwell and Loughton and Buckhurst Hill. That's the growth area. You see as well in Castle Point, that's the Canvey Island Haredi community. And you see the somewhat decline in Southend that you've got here. That was we wanted to share those figures. We had a great presentation with Anne Clark, the Assembly member for Barnet and Camden. And I think that what we got from that was an ability as well to focus on Barnet. And we're 16% of Barnet, and lots of focus is going in to Barnet and thoughts of how the Jewish community has helped there. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Your contribution is greatly appreciated. This was just a sample. And I hope next time we will show you the same on the regions. Andrew, will that be fair?
Yeah. Jeremy Michelson to make your presentation to the next meeting.
Yeah, thanks.
Edwin, I couldn't see the slides. Would it be
Because
possible you could send them to people, because I don't know if it was my eyesight, but I just
absolutely. You need to.
sure the deputies would
Absolutely.
like
You
the
need
slide.
to put it on speaker so that it covers the screen, but we will send it for sure. And I want to thank all deputies for their help in helping Rosalind Lewis and Jeffrey Pinnock, of course, in delivering the legacy boards. They have now all been delivered. They are adorning most of the synagogues, and we've got pictures to show. I'm now going to call on Judith Princely, Health and Mental Health Working Group, to talk to us for a couple of minutes. Judith, the floor is yours.
Well, can I just confirm?
Unmute, please. Unmute.
Can I just confirm you had 15 minutes, so
do.
we'll speak, and then deputies might want some questions.
Sure. All within the timing.
We may go behind time. Thank you.
Thanks.
Right, hello. I wanted to first of all thank Andrew Gilbert, because he was responsible for setting up this group of health and mental health. And I feel if one has an effective health and mental health, that is the core of you it's one of the main cores of you as a person, and really helps you with your well-being. So I feel very, very pleased that this is part of the CED group. I'd also like to thank everybody, the members of the group. We have a wide skill set, we have wide expertise, and it's very important that we represent all the sections of the Jewish community. We are inclusive, we're diverse, and we are also relatable. And that when I stress the communities, all the communities in the whole of the board, I'm mindful, particularly being a northerner, that it isn't London centrist, and that we really recommend everybody. And we've already had Johnny Weinberg, who came to one of our groups, about some of the fabulous work that he's doing. So I want to just remind everybody of our outcomes, which we revisited. So the first one is supporting local and regional communities in engaging in the NHS structures, supporting health information in connection with the Jewish communities, and engaging in health awareness campaigns. So how are we supporting the community? And this is one of the priorities where we want to be sure that you as Board of Deputies have the correct information, including us, that we're really up to speed with what is going on, and how do we communicate this from the Board of Deputies out to the communities and organisations that are part of the Board of Deputies. So where are we at the moment? So first of all, one of the things that we highlighted was Jamie Shabbat. And this has been amazing. A lot of us were involved with it. And on a personal level, we were able to have Laurie Rackind, the CEO. And I'd really recommend, if you can, to have a speaker from that organisation. The kind of feedback we had was, so pleased somebody is talking about it. The toolkit was also very, very helpful. And it also gave an opportunity to highlight a little bit the work that we're doing as Board of Deputies. And clearly, we've talked about that, and a film was implemented, but it's very important that we have opportunities to do that. Ruth Hart, in connection with Jewish Women's Aid, she encouraged people to have coffee mornings. And again, we had speakers from the local community, and this would not have happened without the board, people in the board raising it, and obviously it affects people's mental health. And again, we had quite a few local Board of Deputies, and Sheila spoke very clearly, very impressively about the role. So these are a couple of things. We're going to have awareness weeks, and again, we're open to what you feel is the best way to communicate it to your communities and make it happen, make it come alive. Another area is social care. And again, I've had a meeting with Daniel Carmel Brown, and I'm also going to speak to the Fed. So we can look at the issues that are around, how can we share that information? And again, which has been stressed by a recent regional, there was an I'll rephrase that. There was a launch of a report about social care and faith groups. And one of the heart of the things is, what can we do as a community? And
sorry, Julie,
thank you. I'm going to say, I'm going to have to call time. Edwin, I'm really sorry. You knew that it was 15 minutes. It's really not fair on people in the other divisions.
What would you like me to stop? I will stop.
Well, I'm afraid, because I've had the other HOs say to me it's really not fair.
Fine.
They're not going to have any time.
Okay.
I don't want to stop. I can see Sheila. Edwin, you'll have to manage it, but your other HOs are not happy.
Okay, Sheila, you've got your 1 minute. If you can wrap it up in a
I
minute.
will only take 1 minute. I'm really good at being short. Edwin, I had a meeting in Hull today with Hanan Charles and people at Hull Minster. The exhibition is going to be there from the 15th of May to the 8th of June. Deputies, please, if you're in the Hull area, Leeds, York, wherever you are, we need you to get in touch with Anna or myself. We need volunteers, please. Also, with the SACRE, we've lost 1 or 2 people. We are looking for people to help fill those spaces. Anna will be contacting all deputies where we still need help. Okay, I think that's all I really need to say. But thank everybody for everything.
I trust you to do it within the minute. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. Marie.
Thank you. So sorry, everybody. But I want to try and be fair. All the HOs want to have an equal chance to present their work in the time we've got. So the next division, international, and David, of course, you'll stick to time. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you very much. Obviously, the report that was circulated is now quite old, because originally these were put together for the last meeting, but we've been having a really great couple of weeks. Just last week, we organised a tour of Bevis Marks with the Spanish and Portuguese rabbis, and not rabbis, with the Spanish and Portuguese ambassadors. As far as anyone knows, neither the Spanish or Portuguese ambassadors have ever visited the synagogue before. We got them both. They got a fantastic tour from Rabbi Dweck, and it really was an amazing thing. They absolutely loved it. Last night also, we were privileged to be invited to the Portuguese residence. A number of people from my division came along for a dinner there. This is all really part of the cultural heritage work that we're trying to do, to make sure that when our community is talking about what it is to be Jewish, we're talking about who we are, we're talking about our heritage, we're celebrating it, and we're working with countries to make sure that they are elevating it. It also helps helps us when there are difficult things we need to talk about, to be able to celebrate the good things too. So that's a really big part of what we're doing. And I just want to thank everyone that's helping to do that. With that, I'm happy to just go to questions if there are any. And yeah, thank you very much. Susan.
Thank you very much. Susan Pascoe, Nostra Community. I wanted to highlight the problems in a report published a few weeks ago about how teaching and schools run by the UNRWA, the United Nations Relief and Works Agency, are still calling for the murder of Jews, and their teaching materials are still glorifying terrorism, encouraging martyrdom, and inciting racism. The report, as I'm sure you know, was produced jointly by the United Nations Watch and the Institute for Monitoring Peace and Cultural Tolerance in School Education. The report found 47 new cases of incitement by UNRWA staff, which obviously breaks the agency's policies on racism and anti-Semitism. So I'd like to see not only condemnation by the Board of Deputies, but also call for urgent action again, that this must stop, bearing in mind that the donor nations fund the agency, which has a budget of £1.6 billion. Of 60% of that goes to education. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Absolutely, this is a massive point of concern for us. And whenever we speak with the Foreign Office, this is a key topic that we bring up. We work closely with Impact SE. I in fact used to work for UN Watch, so I know about the topic quite well also. These textbooks are absolutely awful. And while we're seeing many textbooks in the Middle East get much, much better on issues of anti-Semitism, Holocaust revisionism is starting to be sort of drawn away and things like that, which is great. The UAE is absolutely a model of where these places should go. The books that UNRWA are using that are produced really by the Palestinian Authority are as you say, getting worse. This is a huge point of concern for us. We'll continue to work with that Impact SE. We will continue to make representations to the UN, which is another reason, of course, that we're applying for special consultative status, is so that we can make a real point officially to and at the UN, and we'll continue to make representations to the Foreign Office so that they are standing up against it also. Can I take the next question, please? I need to make sure that my laptop is plugged in because I just got a warning. I need to figure out whether the plug is out.
I'm looking for questions for you. So come on, somebody who's got a question for David.
No, if there aren't any, I thought I saw Baruch stick his hand up before, but maybe it was an accident.
Otherwise, perhaps you can tell everybody about the fantastic evening we had with our division last night.
One thing that I probably should actually talk about, which I can't believe it's almost a month ago now, is I did go out to Geneva to the Human Rights Council. We spoke as a part of the UK's Universal Periodic Review about Jewish life in the UK, met with a number of embassies out there. We're building our relationships. For me, it's a real priority that we do get this membership with ECOSOC so that we can build these relationships. We can continue to combat anti-Semitism at the UN and in countries all around the world with these missions. We built great relationships with the US mission out there and with the Bahraini mission, with a whole load of others. So it's really great stuff, I think, that we are doing there. Mervyn, your question, please. And if I disappear, please note, because I'm hunting for the power or I have failed and disappeared. But please, Mervyn.
We have a lot of visits by schools to look at the manner in which Jewish life takes place within the school. One thing that we don't have any information on, which would be suitable for young people, is about the history of the creation of the State of Israel, and perhaps equally with the life of also the creation of Judaism itself. And if that were to be made available, that would be very, very helpful.
Thanks, Mervyn. I totally agree with you. I failed, by the way, to find the power. So again, apologies if I disappear. I totally agree with you. That's why this project that we're doing with ADL is so important. So the Anti-Defamation League have given us a sum of money to produce a platform that we will be rolling out to schools with support from the Department for Education, teaching pupils around the country, not just what anti-Semitism is, but also about who Jews are, what Jews believe, because that's so fundamental also to understanding the roots of anti-Semitism. So I think that's going to be a really important piece that we do there. And there was another part of your question, sorry, Mervyn, about schools that I've forgotten. If you're okay, just to repeat it quickly.
Yes, well, basically it's an expansion. How the State of Israel was established, a little, and the actual biblical history, which can be put in extended form so that people understand where the Jewish life comes from.
Yeah, so like I said, I think a lot of that, the Jewish life stuff will be covered in this platform. You might also know that we've worked quite closely with textbook publishers to try and make sure that a balanced and accurate approach is taken on the teaching of Israel, the foundation of Israel, and all that. And that remains something that's really important to us, even as our success, I would say, in it kind of, peaks and troughs. Thank you very much for that. Jerry, please. And then I imagine I'm out of time.
You will be out of time. Thank you.
I hope you can hear me, Jerry Lewis, Hampstead Synagogue. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fine. First of all, just a plea, next time you rearrange a meeting, could you just think of the Man United, but especially the Tottenham fans? The game's starting in a few moments, and it's a shame. Those of you who are unaware, last Thursday, this time last week, was a debate and also a
an emergency question session in Parliament. And both referred to the, I think we've lost the picture, both referred to the situation in Israel. The first part of the events were a statement by Andrew Mitchell talking about the D family and the problems of the region. And he was very fair, very even-handed. And every MP, even though it's pro-Palestinian, used the opportunity to condemn and to express sympathy with the Ds. The second part, the debate, which I flagged up for members of those involved in the community to try and get MPs to turn up, was a marvellous opportunity for the Israeli side to point out that Palestinian human rights are being affected, sadly, by Hamas, Hezbollah, etc., etc. Of course, it wasn't used by MPs. There were only 2 or 3 MPs that stood up on Israel's side. Steve McCabe from Labour Friends of Israel, Matthew Offord and John Howells. The rest of the debate was a really feast of people having a go at Israel. And it's inevitable with the problems Israel's facing at the moment, we're going to find it more and more difficult to get speakers out for talking about Israel. Please, could we ask deputies to ask members of the community to do more to get their MPs involved?
Lovely. Thank you. You're out of time.
Jerry.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much, David. And I just say this for you. I was so proud last night of the international division. We were all invited by the Portuguese ambassador to his residence, and we had a fantastic dinner and an amazing evening. And I was incredibly proud that we were all out as a division. It really was a very, very good thing, wasn't it, David? And division.
It was really lovely. And yeah, thank you for joining, Marie, and thank you to everyone in the division that came along also. It was a really lovely evening.
It really, really was. Thank you so much. Amanda, would you like to present your report, please?
Okay, I think I am unmuted. Good evening, deputies. I just want to cover a couple of things on interfaith first. This week, the Bloom Review was launched, and it highlights the important role that faith communities play in society. There are 22 quite practical recommendations calling on government and all publicly funded services to increase their faith literacy, because the review highlights the fact that there's a poor understanding of the basic tenets and principles of faith in the UK. And when that's poorly understood by government and public services, then faith communities are going to be poorly served, whether that's through policy or very practically in the health service or in education, in armed forces, in prisons and so on. As far as we're concerned, we will be looking at the report in detail and exploring how we can implement some of the recommendations. I also want to pick up on the discussion on the big help out. And I want to highlight the fact that Nick Grant is the Mitzvah Day deputy, and Laura Marks is also a deputy, and she's the founder of Mitzvah Day. They're always there to support you on interfaith social action, and you also have Amos and Talia and the whole of the Social Justice Committee to support you on social action. We're encouraging deputies to go back into their communities to support the big help out by thinking perhaps about your regular Mitzvah Day activities and thinking about doing them again in May, which is halfway between Mitzvah Days. Just reminding you that every day can be a Mitzvah Day, and no one knows this more than the Jewish community. I've previously reported on the work that we're doing through the division with the National Health England Jewish Network and the meetings that we've been having with the EHRC. We met recently with the EHRC to follow up on those conversations and to reinforce the fact that until there's parity and recognition on Jewish ethnicity, that's a word that I find difficult to say, there's going to continue to be the questions about whether there can be racism against Jews and whether only Black people, as we saw at the weekend, can suffer from racism. So in practical terms, what we want to see is that any of those forms that one is asked to fill in, there is a clear Jewish option when one is identifying ethnicity, so that we can make sure that policies and practice are suitably conformed, so that it supports us in the Jewish community. The EHRC have taken this to their regulatory hub, and we're waiting to hear back from them. And the final thing I just want to mention is that today I attended the external consultative group for the hate crime division at the Crown Prosecution Service. Among other things, we discussed the Law Commission review of hate crime legislation, and we heard from several of the CPS regional leads about how they work with communities through scrutiny panels, and they share learning on all aspects of hate crime. It was very good to be there, but also to hear from other communities about their experience of working with the CPS. Sort of slightly comforting, although a bit sad, to see that we've all got problems with the CPS and the police. It's not just the Jewish community. I'm going to open to questions at this point. So I've got David May, you're first.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for the extra meeting. We were much obliged. I've sent you a message. Hopefully you've got it, about Elbit again being attacked, if you like, by the Palestinian Action Group, and they intend to lay siege on Israel's weapons factory again in Leicester. I know the police are aware and have been informed. I don't know if you want to fill us in on anything else that's been going on. Apparently, it's the arms factory in Oldham, the London headquarters, and quite a lot of, I think it was £280 million worth of contracts with the Ministry of Defence have been cancelled as a result of their action. Can you fill us in on what's been going on, please, if possible?
Yeah, I've got no more to say than I was able to say when we last discussed this, in that we're aware of this. We are aware of the situation. As deputies will all know, there is a BDS bill going through Parliament as we speak, and these protests are uncomfortable, unfortunate, and but it's only if they actually break the law that we can actually move forward in a practical way.
Okay, thank you.
I can't believe that no one else has got any questions for me, but if we've made up time, I'm perfectly happy for that. And you all know that you can reach out to me at any point outside of the meeting, and I will do my best to support you.
Well, thank you. If no one's sure they've got any questions, then I can we'll have on the final report, and then if anyone's got any community questions, then you have indeed given back some. Oh, I think Laura's got a question. Is that for you, Amanda? Laura?
Hello, lovely to be here. It's not so much of a question, more given that Amanda's got a few minutes spare, or 1 minute or two. I thought I'd add a bit on the Bloom report, because
thank you, Laura.
Because it's a really important report. It's taken 4 years. A man called Colin Bloom did an enormous consultation amongst the faith communities, including a lot amongst the Jewish community. And there's a lot of very positive stuff in there. It's all about how to encourage the government to engage more with the faith communities than it currently does. And lots of very positive things in there. And calling for to support the faith communities more. For example, during the COVID crisis, there were all sorts of round tables and things that didn't happen, that stopped as soon as COVID stopped. So there was an active attempt in government to engage more with the faith communities and to bring the faith communities together around doing that. And the bringing the faith communities together around doing it was probably as beneficial to us as the connection with government. So it was everybody from the very progressive part of the community through to the Haredim were all there to speak to government at the same time. And that was hugely positive. So things like that are things that we can support and encourage. There was a lot in there as well, quite a lot in there about extremism and harms within the faith communities. And it particularly did focus on unregulated schools and also forced marriage. So these sorts of harms were things that it has called out and is going to be looking at and encouraging the government to get involved in. But I think the biggest issue it talked about, or the biggest overall theme, was religious literacy, by which we mean people in government in particular, but in the armed forces, in schools, in education, in the health service, everywhere, understanding more about what it means to live your life as a person in a faith community in Britain today. And I think that that is the thing that we can all collectively agree on, absolutely, that if government and civil servants and local authorities understood more about how faith communities lead their lives and the positive impacts of it, and the fact that how much of it is positive and is helpful to local society, then I think that, and Colin Bloom thinks that everybody would benefit a great deal. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks, Laura. It was 160 pages of report, 22 recommendations. And from my first skim through, because I haven't got through it all yet, it was reassuring to see that that many of the issues that we're dealing with in terms of religious freedoms and interfaith engagement were coming up as themes in the report. So lots for us to work on.
Thank you very much, Amanda. Thank you. Michael Ziff, would you please present the Finance and Organisation Division report? Thank you.
Thank you, firstly, Marie, for your very kind words, and also to many colleagues and friends who are members of the Board of Deputies. I very much appreciate all your support at the time when my mum passed away. Thankfully, the Shloshim comes to an end tomorrow, I'm told, which means that this beard will be removed. So I shall hopefully be clean shaven by next week. Sid is going to join me shortly and say a few words. Just a couple of points that I want to raise from the Finance and Organisation report. The explanation of the management accounts and budgets, which was due to take place on the 24th of April, due to Yontov and various other things that went on, slipped through the net. I apologise. We've now fixed a date for 8 o'clock on the 8th of May. I know it's not the most convenient day for everybody. I'm happy to arrange one-on-ones with people if they so wish after that. And I've written to one or two people, sorry, I've had one or two people write to me, and I will follow up on that with one-on-one conversations if people want to spend time discussing the whole question of the management accounts. We've had some outline results for the first 2-3 months, obviously, and our concern at the moment is very much about the communal contributions, and that Sid is going to speak about in a minute. There is only one way in which we're going to be able to put this right, and that is to go out and talk to the synagogues. I found myself in a situation now where I'm saying Kaddish morning and evening for my mum. With my dad, I went to 135 different places to say Kaddish. That included Elland Road and Lord's. I plan to do the same again. I have actually been to Elland Road. We lost 6-1, which proved that God actually supports Liverpool and not Leeds. But on a more serious note, I want to try and get round to as many shuls as possible, where there is minyanim, obviously, and I'm happy to come to all sectors of the community and see you and get the opportunity to add particularly many shuls that I didn't go to last time, which was 135 places. So this time I'm looking to try and go to 200 places to stay Kaddish. And I'm happy to come and talk to whoever wants to be spoken to and just have a chat with you wherever it is in the country as well. I love going out and about and traveling and very much doing this in memory of my mum. So I'm there to come to you. Just drop me an email and tell me when you want me to come and where you want me to come to. I am worried about the communal contributions, and we need to follow up on that. So at that point, I'm going to hand over to Sid for a few words.
Thank you very much. Excuse me. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, President. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Lovely. Thank you. Let me set the scene. The first quarter, we've just got some headline figures for the first quarter of 2023 for the communal contribution. And yes, we know that the times are more straitened this year than they were this time last year, and the outlook is not good. So let's be conscious of that as we look at these figures. Last year, the figures for 2023, communal contribution just over $250,000, but that is down from 326,000 for the same period last year. That is a fall of, I reckon, 21%. And doing some quick analysis of these figures, the United Synagogue has actually held up reasonably well. It's 3% down on last year, but the big drop is in other synagogues where the communal contribution has halved. And we want to try and understand that. Now, the communal contribution is the biggest single income heading for the board, and without it, the board cannot function. Let's just pause for the moment to take that in. Now, the total for of common contribution for 2022 was just over 700,000, but we're working harder to get the same income year on year. Now, there are many synagogues that do not contribute a pound to the communal contribution, and yet the Board of Deputies prides itself on being the democratic voice of the community. My view of that is that everybody should have a share in the income, and the contribution level requested is £30 per person per year. Yes, I know there are some people that find that difficult to afford. Equally, there are some people who can afford, but for some reason don't. And I'm asking every deputy here who is an ambassador for the board, let's not forget that, to spread the word, to advocate a payment of the communal contribution, and to, let's be honest, put the board in the best light out in their constituencies. Sorry, can I just have a moment more, please, Michael? I would ask all deputies, please, to just check that their shul is requesting £30 per member on the shul bill and remitting the contribution in a timely way. Now, synagogue membership is declining, and what we are doing in the F&O is we have just incepted a new working group to look at the way ahead. Is the communal contribution in the present form the optimum way of doing it? And Phil Rosenberg is leading that piece of work. We've got a few people from the F&O that are going to join him, and I'm asking tonight, because this is essential fundraising for the future of the board. We're looking outside the F&O, outside divisions, for a couple, 2 or 3 people who are good at what we might want to call blue sky thinking, to join this working group to plan the way ahead. Please contact me, contact Phil Rosenberg, and we will put you in touch. If anybody wants their figures for their shul for last year, for year to date, please contact me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sid. Questions, please. David May.
Yes, good evening. First of all, Michael, wish you long life. And we'd be delighted to have you at one of our minions in Leicester, either on a Friday night or a Shabbos. We invariably get minions on Friday night and Shabbat. And if you're going to come to the Leicester plenary, then obviously we would be delighted to have you in our show. One of the points that I'm quite happy to join your working group, but one of the points I've always made to my treasurer is, regardless of whether the members pay or not, I think it should be the responsibility of the community, the shul, the organisation to pay this money. There should be no excuse for it. I know that most of our meetings are now probably done on Zoom, and this probably doesn't apply, but should a deputy expect to have expenses paid when the synagogue or community are not even paying the communal money? Seems crazy to me that they should be able to accept, or ask you for money for their expenses when they're not even making a contribution, especially if they're not even paying £1. I think that's horrendous. But I'm quite happy to work with you. As I say, I always ensure that our treasurer pays the money, the contribution, immediately it becomes due. And I think the Board of Deputies deserves the money, and it should be paid. Thank you.
I think we'll take up your offer. Thank you very much indeed. And let's move on. I'll look forward to come to see you. Judith Princely and then Doris Schmetling.
Hi, I just wondered, besides raising about the financial contribution, I've become aware since joining the board that in spite of us trying to put in better communication, like we have the newsletter in, we speak at shul board meetings, we're going to speak at the AGM, there's still a lot of people turning around and saying, oh, I don't know what the board does. And it's not that the board, we had that film that everyone put together, and I just wondered whether we need to go back to that. And even external organisations, when I'm coming to meet them, they're saying we're not quite sure, not in an aggressive way, but I don't think they're appreciating the role that the board is doing. And I just, whether we could rethink that.
Okay, I think that's a very good point you've raised there, Andrew and Michael Uyghur. Just very quickly, Michael and I are working on high net worth individuals in the community to approach them. Michael has produced a one-page document which will go out saying what we do, and our intention would be that obviously went to those people, but maybe we can widen the circle of that particular document and send it to all the deputies so that they know what the roles are. And Michael, perhaps you could pick up on that, please. I see him nodding, so I can assume he must be yes. Doris Schmetling next, and then Ruth Friedman.
Oh, hello. Thank you. Somebody's unmuted me. I was trying to do that. Hello, Michael. And also from me again, a long and healthy life. I saw you the other day. My question is, would it be possible to produce a report for everyone, or perhaps only those who asked, in a way that Sydney, I think, alluded to, is a document that compares the amount received for whatever period is considered suitable with the total possible contribution, as opposed to last year's contribution. if that might be possible. And in that context, could I request here on verbally, Sydney, to send Dory Schmetterling at the New West End Synagogue the figures he offered to send to people if they requested them, about, I think, comparing contributions.
We'll get you the information about New West End, and as far as looking at what the total potential is, which is what I assume you're saying, we will look into that as well. Ruth Freeman and then Sylvia.
Ruth Friedman, Pinner United Synagogue. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I'd also like to wish you long life for your loss. My question, which I think I've always been asking since I've ever had anything to do with finance, is what are you doing to actually target the organisations that really are the worst non-payers? That's my question. And I'd also be happy to help Phil Rosenberg on his working group.
So thank you for the latter. And I have now got a list of the shuls and what they are meant to be giving us in terms of funds. I'm going to say what they're meant to be is and there is no doubt that the only comes back to what I said early on in the conversation. We have got to go and talk to people. That is the only way in which you raise money. If you don't go and see people and talk to people, you don't raise money. Michael knows that. He did it at UJA for probably at least 20 odd years. That's the only way in which we can do it. So I think we've got to now go out and talk to those shuls who are not pulling their weight and ask them to see what is the problem and find out and go talk with them, which I'm happy to do. Sylvia?
Sorry, I'm hiding, but it's
Don't worry.
The day before Erev Shabbos, so I haven't got my best face on. I'm happy to say that we have been honoured by Marie, who is coming to come speak to us on the 4th of June.
Sylvia, can you say which shul?
Edra United.
Right.
She's coming to speak to us on the 4th of June. She's inaugurating our women's programme by being our first speaker, and she is going to speak about the Board of Deputies and women in the Board of Deputies, because obviously it's a women's group, but it would be a very good moment for her to do a little bit of advertising about payment and where it goes and what it happens, because most of the women that will come will be somebody's husband. So if you get 50 women, you'll be reaching 100 people. I'm just saying it's a possibility because it's very soon.
Okay. Thank you. I'm sure Marie will take that up on that. Karen Newman, and then I think our time's out.
Thank you very much. Karen Newman from the Liberal Jewish Synagogue. I just wanted to say three things. First of all, to wish you, Michael, long life, or as Rabbi Rachel Benjamin taught us to say, I wish you strength and happy memories. I wanted to just say that we at the LJS were very fortunate because Marie came to talk to us very recently. And I just wanted to underline to deputies, if they don't know this already, which I'm sure you all do, all of the honorary officers are more than willing to come. They're an exceptionally articulate bunch. And there's nothing like getting an honorary officer to your synagogue. And it really can pay dividends. People really get a sense of what the board does. It's a tremendously valuable thing to invite an honorary officer, and my experience is that they tend to say yes. The other thing I just want to say, Michael, in respect of saying what is the maximum possible figure that we could get from any given congregation, I would urge a little caution on that, because a lot of synagogues have a membership figure, but a significant proportion of those people don't pay the full whack. So if they don't pay the full whack of the membership fee, people have taken into consideration that times are hard and they pay a reduced membership fee. It may be a bit difficult to have a read across from the number and the potential yield from that synagogue as a whole. Thank you very much.
Okay, I take on board your comments there, and I think my own shul had exactly that same issue, so I fully understand the point you make.
I know we're out of time, but let Sid have his 30 seconds. Come on, Sid. It's been a good discussion.
I just wanted to say, if Dory and was it David May wanted the figures for their shul, can they please contact me, Sid Braham, SYD Braham, at googlemail.com, and I've got the spreadsheet in front of me right now.
Thank you. Look, it's really important because finance is something we have to be very alive to, and we're so reliant on communal contributions. I'm delighted that everyone wants to have the discussion. For me, the best part of the job is coming to the communities, and I was delighted to be at Mosaic Reform last Shabbat, and I've got a full list of shuls that I'm going to. But if anyone else wants me, I'm really delighted to attend, and I even speak when I go to Israel as well. Now I think it's no better way than to get our work known. So thank you for that discussion. It's very important. Does anyone have any questions? Because we do have a bit more time. We made up some time that they want to ask the Community and Education Division. Did anyone feel that they wanted to ask anything? Okay, I'm not seeing anybody. Thank you. Okay, we shall move on. We may even finish. Oh, sorry, Sheila, go on.
Thank you. I didn't get the opportunity to finish what I was saying. I'm not going to go back to the education side, but I just want to promote the fact. I think all deputies will have received an invitation from Sarah Radovan, because the Heritage Group next Monday, May the 1st, again, I know it's a bank holiday, but it's only a little one next Monday. We're very happy to have a lady called Sippy Howard, who's a very dear friend, born in Ethiopia. Her husband was born in Egypt. She's coming to talk to the Heritage Group just from 6:30 to 7:30 on Zoom next Monday, and I would be delighted if people get in touch with Sarah if they would like the Zoom link. You know, she's a very dear friend and she's agreed to do this, and it ticks all the boxes for the diversity within the community and racial inclusivity. So if anybody's interested, please get in touch with Sarah. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. Okay, moving on to the President's statement. I hope you don't mind. I'm sorry that some of the announcements are a bit old, but we didn't have time to read them out last time, and I think that we should. Mazel tov. It's always good to have mazel tovs. Again, Michael, I'm so sorry and wish you long life. Edward Cohen and his wife Marion celebrated their diamond wedding anniversary. Michael Lever recently celebrated his 90th birthday. Fantastic. Noah Katz on being elected as a student director of NUS. Fantastic achievement. Flora Frank, apologies, Flora, on the bar mitzvah of her great-grandson in Jerusalem. Sylvia Hartman on the recent bar mitzvah of her grandson. Margaret Abrahams on the birth of a grandson. And Adrian Cohen on the marriage of his son, Harry. And also further condolences to Mike Frankel and family on the very sad loss of his brother, George. So the President's statement was put to you. We've had a number of incidents and issues, obviously very live and ongoing since, including Diane Abbott. You may have seen some of the radio and television broadcasts on this. So I'll go straight to questions because hands are already up. Louise Ellman.
Thank you. Louise Ellman, Jewish Labour Movement. And thank you, President, for what you've been doing on the Diane Abbott statement. I think this is the latest in a series of statements from people who proclaim themselves anti-racist, but clearly have a great problem with anti-Jewish racism. It's very important always pursuing that. I'd like to thank you too for the statement that you made in opposing the government's migration bill. The Jewish community has a very special role in dealing with immigration, refugee issues. It's important we use our experience to speak out. So I applaud what you said in opposing the bill, and also the very positive work that you've been doing in supporting refugees. And I hope that that work will continue. And as we approach the general election over the coming months, I suspect that the rhetoric coming from the government on immigration and refugee issues will get even worse and even more unpleasant. And I hope that we do stick to our guns and say the right thing. And I do think too, the statement made by the Home Secretary criticising what the board has said really demeaned her, and I think undermined her status as a Home Secretary.
Thank you for your comments. Thank you, Louise. Move on because lots of hands have gone up. So can you just state your name and your constituency? Borach Michaels, thank you.
Dear esteemed members of the board, as we convene today, it is very important to remember that Israel is a vital part of our identity and our history. Isaac Herzog aptly said this week: Israel is not a blessing that we should take for granted, and our commitment to Israel should be unwavering and unapologetic. As members of this board, we must stand behind Israel and support its people, even if we don't agree with all of its policies or actions. Our role is not to be the loudest voice in the room when we disagree on Israel, but to be the staunchest supporters and cheerleaders. We must celebrate Israel's right to exist and its right to navigate its challenges just like any other country. It's sometimes important to zoom out and recognize the privilege we have in fighting over the country and how it should be run. Our grandparents dreamed of the homeland for the Jewish people, and now we have it. We must be grateful for this opportunity and not turn our backs on the people who made it so special. We sometimes need to acknowledge that it is not always our place as British Jews to interfere in the internal affairs of another country, but to focus our energies and resources on issues that directly affect our community. For example, there are serious issues happening in our colleges and universities regarding Yom Ha'atzmaut and other Israel events that we should be addressing and helping to resolve. We should prioritize supporting British Jewish students and improving their experiences on campus. We must not allow divisional dissent to weaken our collective resolve. In conclusion, let us commit ourselves to our responsibilities as members and representatives of British Jewry. Let us continue to stand by Israel, celebrate our privilege, and make a positive impact in the community. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. And of course, just as a reminder, we had a very, very good discussion and dialogue and a fantastic motion last plenary meeting, which was passed by 83%. So I really feel that people have been able to have their say and will continue to be able to do that. And I'm pleased to say that I should be packing as soon as this meeting is finished to go back to Israel, the land that I love. Phil Rosenberg. Phil's disappeared from my screen. Are you? There we go.
Thank you, Madam President. Phil Rosenberg, Bronx Synagogue. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps is a threat to the UK and our allies. It's a threat to Jews and Jewish communities around the world, including in Israel, and it is a threat to the Iranian people themselves. Over the last few weeks, we've seen the strange spectacle of the government confirming that it recognizes that the IRGC is a threat to all of these groups, and yet the government has declined to act and prescribe the IRGC. It's not good enough. Now, Madam President, I worked with your distinguished predecessor, Jonathan Arkush, on the prescription of Hezbollah. I worked with you on the prescription of Hamas, and I think it's now time that we step up our campaign to get the IRGC prescribed in full. Now, Madam President, you know, when I come up with a campaign, I come up with an idea as well. And what I'd like to propose is the first ever Board of Deputies Parliamentary Advocacy Day. I believe, Madam President, we should get all the deputies, led by you, to go to Parliament on one day and speak to our MPs and make the case that the IRGC should be prescribed in full. I've had an initial conversation with the Conservative MP for Finch and Goldsgreen, Mike Freer, also the Labour frontbench peer, Baroness Merrin, no stranger to us, who are both prepared to support this initiative. So I was wondering, Madam President, whether you'd be prepared to meet with me and any other deputies who are interested in supporting this initiative so that we can get into Parliament, step up that campaign and get the IRGC prescribed once and for all.
Well, absolutely. It's been a very important part of our agenda to make sure that the IRG is absolutely prescribed. It's something that we certainly have been raising. It's not public yet, but we've shortly got a meeting with the Foreign Secretary. But absolutely very happy to consider deputy-led initiatives. That's excellent. I hope that you will involve Amanda because I think that's where it should also start, and I'm sure she'll be delighted to talk to you. We all like working together. It's all a good thing, and I absolutely agree that needs to be prescribed. We've got to take action, and we've really got to push for it. So thank you very much for that. Thank you, and I'm sure Amanda will be in touch. Brilliant. Who's next? Joe Millis. It says not in Bromley.
Yeah, I'm in the city of London, the beating heart of our financial capital. Yeah, Joe Millis, Bromley Reformed Synagogue. All praise to your particular stance on immigration and refugees in these past few weeks, and I agree that whatever Suella Braverman said says more about her than about the Board of Deputies. However, this week, Robert Jenrick, who apparently is a Minister for Immigration and a great friend of British Jews also, used language that can only be described as disgraceful, in saying that immigrants are cannibalizing UK compassion. And I wonder if the board can make it absolutely clear that language like that is completely and utterly unacceptable. It's just dog whistling to the far right and racists in the community in Britain. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Without pointing to any individuals, I absolutely agree that refugees should not be dehumanized. Last week, after Yom HaShoah, the next day, I went to Warsaw for the commemoration of the 80th anniversary of the uprising of the Warsaw Ghetto, which was really, for me, a very traumatic experience. It's where all of my grandfather's family were murdered. And I was so struck by the talk of a 97-year-old Marian Tursky. And he absolutely said, "Thou shalt not be indifferent." I was really struck by those words. What I think the message from the Board of Deputies is about humanity, just in the way we treat people on the journey. None of us can say how many people should be allowed here or not allowed here. It's just about treating people as human beings along that process and recognizing that they are human beings. Perhaps we can produce some sort of pamphlet on how we think people should be treated, or we can come up with something. But I absolutely agree that everyone deserves the right just to be treated as a human being. And it's not just actions, it's also words are very, very important. So thank you for that. Next, Richard Cooper. We can't hear you yet. Hello.
Richard Cooper, Portsmouth and South Sea Hebrew Congregation, returning to your excellent and timely comments on Diane Abbott's unfortunate letter. I don't know whether anyone heard a programme on BBC Radio 4, 9:30 on Tuesday morning, called The New Gurus, subtitle White Women's Tears. It was the most appalling rubbish from beginning to end. But what was interesting about it, it achieved the double of not only being deeply and worryingly misogynistic, but also went into great detail about racism without once using the words Jew or Jews. And it goes to prove two things. Number one, that sadly, Diane Abbott's view that racism is only about people of colour, and that we Jews, and indeed Roman Sinti, are just too white adjacent to be affected by racism. And secondly, in the words of David Baddiel, Jews don't count. So I'd just like to sort of point that out as showing the depth of the roots of Diane Abbott's very sad attitude, which really does seem to be very much embedded in a lot of the movers and shakers, the greater good of our society.
What Diane Abbott said, I agree, was deeply wounding and offensive to our community. I said on television and radio that the effort to give what was called an apology is absolutely a feeble excuse, and I can't believe that a draft or two drafts were submitted to the papers and that this was said to be a mistake. we all know that Jews suffer racism. We're not talking about sitting at the back of a bus here. We're talking about Jews being put on cattle trucks, taken to concentration camps, murdered, pogroms, expulsion from England, all manner of horrible murders, Holocaust, 6 million Jews. Of course, Jews suffer racism. And I have to commend Keir Starmer. He took very swift action to suspend the whip. And it's only right now that the Labour Party deal with this matter internally according to due process. They've got all the tools they need. They've got the rule changes. They have to show us what they're going to do about it. Just to say, the issues with Diane Abbott are not new. They go right back to the beginning of the times with Corbyn. I remember on the Andrew Marr show that she said that allegations of anti-Semitism were smears. In all this time, I've never had an apology from Diane Abbott. We're talking about years, not just last week. And if anyone wants to know if I've heard from Diane Abbott since the story broke, the answer is, I'm sorry, absolutely not from her or anyone on her behalf. I think we've advocated the position very clearly. We've got to wait and see what the Labour Party are going to do about it. But at least Keir Starmer acted quickly, because we know his predecessor would have done absolutely nothing. It's a very, very sad episode, and I think it's really tarnished Diane Abbott's great legacy. So we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen. Thank you. Bruce.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Bruce Greenberg for Northampton Hebrew Congregation. First of all, apologies to Jerry. I'm showing that Spurs are losing to Man U 1-0 late in the first half. Hopefully Spurs will get a better result than Arsenal did last night. But yes, seriously, I'm curious to know, have many deputies expressed an interest in going to Israel on the board's mission to Israel in December? And how is that progressing?
Okay, thank you. That's a fantastic question. I think it's 45 for deputies, but Michael Weigel, would you like to give us an update, as the question is probably best answered by you? Michael.
Hi, deputies. Good evening. Yes, Pesach and Yom Ha'aron caused a bit of delay in the company in Israel. I actually got more information today. I'm reviewing it with David Mendoza-Wolfson tomorrow. And at the beginning of next week, we will be sending deputies a Google link for them to register. So I expect next week to have everything ready for you. And I hope lots of people will sign up. Just to point out that there is a small amount of money available for younger deputies who require bursaries, and they should be in touch with David Mendoza-Wolfson or myself about that. So watch this space. Thank you for the question, Bruce.
Thank you. And I really hope as many deputies as possible can go, because it was such fun. Do you all remember when we went to Gibraltar, those of us that were here? It was absolutely amazing. So I'm really looking forward to it and hope that we can get this trip off the ground. Thank you. Who's got a question next? Doris Schmetterling.
Hello, thank you. A couple of things. One is the discussion about the IRGC and its banning. I have spoken to two local MPs. One is actually my MP and the other one is next door, who are both members of the government. And I asked them about this. Well, I asked one of them, but the answer I got would apply to both. My MP said that she can't get involved in this, although she would if she could, simply because she's in the government. And the government is not, at this point, signing petitions. What I asked her about was whether she would sign the petition or whatever it is, that document. I think 125 MPs signed it to encourage the government to ban or proscribe IRGC. But you may have noticed that the government is actually taking action against individuals in it, and more people are being sanctioned. So it's not as if the government's doing nothing. And that said, I think you've all noticed that James Cleverly is extremely sympathetic to the cause of Israel's security and so on and so forth. So that's the background. And also I read, and maybe someone else has read, that there is pushback from the civil service or the Foreign Office about that. Second thing I wanted to mention, just some news, if you like, that I found out this morning, which has got something to do with anti-Semitism in the Labour Party, if you like. Some while ago, the former Labour MP of Kensington, who I went to see her about anti-Semitism in the Labour Party, and she kind of, not very strongly said she'd go and talk to some people about it in her party. I thought she wasn't anti-Semitic until I discovered on her Twitter feed today. I don't actually do Twitter, but publicly I can see.
Of course you were. If you're going to say anything defamatory, just you can have your.
No. I'm not. I'm going to say factual. Yes, thank you.
Okay.
No, quite right. I'm only going to stick to facts. On her Twitter feed were two things. One is that she resigned this morning from the Labour Party. She's leader of the Labour group in our council. And that's RBKC, Kensington, Chelsea, and she resigned. Nothing to do with anti-Semitism, I'm sure. But the other thing was I discovered she retweeted or actually tweeted a thing about pro-BDS stuff. So all I can say is that's good news that she's left the Labour Party. Not that I support it, but it's still good news.
Thank you very much for your contribution. Thank you. Look, we all agree that the IRGC should definitely be prescribed. It's great to have a campaign where deputies can be involved. And I also commend the Foreign Secretary, James Cleverly. He also wrote, can I just point out, I'm sure a lot of people saw this, a really sympathetic letter to the D family. I thought that was very, very moving and very good he did that. And I also thought it was very important to personally go to the Shiva, which was in Efrat, for the family and to spend time there. And there were so many people that had come from miles and miles that didn't know the family. And it was just so tragic. And he and his family are so brave and courageous in speaking out of such a difficult situation. And I know that many of you have attended the Shiva here that was held in St. John's Wood. Can I see any more hands? If there are no hands, we've got a little bit of time. Does anyone, I would open the floor if anyone wants to say anything else about anything. We can stop formally recording. We could just have a chat if you want, or has anyone got anything else they'd like to bring up? Deputies aren't normally quiet. Okay. Can I then say it's been a really nice meeting. I think everyone's got a really good contribution. I can see that people really want to help, and that means so much to me. And we all know that raising money in particular is really important and a big help out. It's the very, very best of our community, and volunteering really suffered during the pandemic. I think it's really important to give a good account of ourselves. We've got two people back. Fine. I'm not sure who was first, but go on, Mervyn, and then you, Dory. And now we've got Bruce again. Here we go. Go on.
I want to understand why people are coming on boats instead of taking a train, as did those survivors from the camps in all over during the Second World War. My understanding is that the first place they stop at coming through is where they're supposed to stay. The second aspect is, of course, in the United Kingdom, we do not have IDs. And that's a wonderful way for people to come and lose themselves in the United Kingdom. And it never seems to come up for discussion. And I find that very disabling for that situation to be taking place. Had people been able to come through and requiring help, then I'm quite certain there would be the facility to be able to get on a train, a bus, or a whatever, and come through here without question. There is abuse in respect of the fact that we do not have identity, and we have the problems and I won't use a nasty word, in respect of people who arrive here.
Thank you. I couldn't hear all of that, but I know there's been historically a lot of opposition to identity cards because people are concerned about their rights to privacy. I hope you don't mind. We've got some more questions. Can I come to people that haven't yet spoken just first, because I think that's fairer. So Jeremy, followed by Efrat. Jeremy.
Mute.
We can hear you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Jeremy Michelson, Manchester Great New and Central Synagogue. I know you've got an on the officers meeting tomorrow, Marie. Could I just please put in a plea that you start the May the 14th plenary half an hour later at 11:30 rather than 11 o'clock, so it enables deputies from the Northwest to get down, on the day, because if you started at 11, the first train coming from Manchester gets in at 10:55, will be late. So if you start at 11:30, we stand a chance of getting there on time and taking part, because Zoom meetings are great, but you can't network, you can't really talk to people, and regional deputies are disadvantaged because of it.
Thank you. It's always difficult. I should be in the air on the way to Israel, but I'm sure my HOs will make a very sensible outcome of it. Thank you. Efrat.
Thank you so much, Madam President. First of all, I'd like to commend the International Division and David on a really wonderful and I think very important diplomatic visit to the Portuguese ambassador. I'd also like to share with the deputies that I had the honor of hosting the Crown Prince of Iran, Reza Pahlavi II, at my institute at Haifa University last week. It was a historic visit to Israel, and I concur with Phil Rosenberg and the other deputies who see the vital importance of highlighting the importance of prescribing the IRGC as a terrorist organization. And I would be happy to help. And I think this really is an issue that all deputies can come together on, because this is something that affects Jewish communities all over the world. So thank you, Madam President, for that and for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Joe Millis again, and then we've got Bruce, and it looks like Dory again. But if you're not going to speak, can you put your hands down? Thank you. Joe Millis.
Yeah, just to point out to the previous speaker, when the Kindertransport came here in the 30s, they too were going through countries that were friendly at the time. So I think the whole premise of Mervyn's position is incorrect. The problem is with this country is that there are no safe passage to get through to the country. What we need in this country is, instead of having dog whistle politics and statements that are bound to inflame, is to have a safe passage built or whatever developed, so that people can get into this country who are fleeing war, fleeing famine, like our ancestors did in the late 19th and early 20th century. Because I don't think anyone on this call can trace back their ancestors to the Norman invasion or fighting alongside the Iceni against the Romans. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Bruce, and then Dory, and then I think we will move to wrapping. Thank you, Bruce.
Yes, thank you. I'm still Bruce Greenberg for Northampton Hebrew Congregation. I think I'm setting a personal record speaking twice at one meeting. But earlier this week, on Monday evening, I attended a multi-faith service for the Northampton Interfaith Forum, where we said prayers for the upcoming coronation of King Charles III and Queen Camilla. And next week on Tuesday evening, I'm attending another multi-faith service at the Northampton Cathedral, again representing the Jewish community in Northamptonshire. And I was just wondering, Marie, what are your personal thoughts as we come up to only a week from Saturday now, the coronation? And this is something new for me, I guess for most of us, to see a coronation. And will you have any speaking parts in the coronation service, or what goes on with that?
I doubt very much that I will have a speaking part, because we also have to remember that it's Shabbat. So I need to make sure, I've got to finalize my own arrangements to make sure that I'm going to be walking there. Look, I'm really looking forward to the coronation. it's going to be a very happy, joyous event. I know it's very difficult to get an invitation. It was amazing when it came. It will be treasured for the community. I will never forget it. So I'm sure that I will be writing about it afterwards, but we all should be very, very honoured. I know the Chief Rabbi is obviously invited as well. So we'll just have to take it day by day, but I know there's other groups and charities that will be there. And it's remarkable that the King wants to make sure that ordinary people are also included. And he's been very clear from the start that he wants to be a king for all faiths and none. So it's very, very touching that he's making sure that we're there. I don't know where I'm going to sit, but if I had my old seat from the time that I had to go, unfortunately, for the Queen's funeral, it was certainly an incredible honour, and just showed how important the King regards faith. And we're looking forward to seeing the King and Queen in their fantastic crown. So thank you for that. Dori, and then we're going to wrap. Thank you.
Thanks. Actually, all I wanted to say is next time you open up I don't know, Zoom for discussion, I suggest you unmute us. That's why you got a deafening silence, because there's no way we could say anything. Just a tip. You can always turn it off again. You can always mute us again if you get a cacophony.
Thank you. Well, I tell you what, as you said that, I hope the staff team and the HOs, when we wrap, will remain online. I will ask for everybody to unmute you. You can all say goodbye, but everyone, staff team, remain online. So I'm going to say I look forward to speaking to you, seeing you soon. Thank you for everything you're doing. Thank you for your time and your contributions. So I'm going to wave